Moving on, Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody that I've had strong opinions about in the past, and I will probably continue to have strong opinions about. But turns out she's been one of the more vocal critics of Donald Trump lately. Who'd have thunk, right? So this from Fox News. When Marjorie Taylor Greene first came to Congress, it's fair to say she was viewed as something of a kook. In fact, I remember I was talking to Bootleg Kevin. He was like, "Man, what a kook!" So that's the second time I'm seeing that word, and it's from Fox. So how about that? She indulged in conspiracy theories and repeated QAnon quackery, which she later acknowledged was a mistake. But now MTG has evolved into President Trump's most vociferous critic, which is especially noticeable in a party that follows their leader at almost every turn. The Georgia Congresswoman, an ultra-conservative, still says she likes Trump, but she's largely in the business of denouncing him on various issues, and that hasn't exactly gone unnoticed. Now the New York Times is portraying her as part of a growing MAGA divide. Greene has been pushing for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, and a Trump official made it known that would be viewed as a hostile act. MTG told the Times that she called a top White House aide, quote, "I told them, you didn't get me elected. I do not work for you. I worked for my district," unquote. We aren't just supposed to be whipped on our votes because they're telling us what to do with this scary threat, or saying we'll primary you, or that we won't get invited to the White House events. Greene has also challenged the president on foreign policy, saying that she still believes in the concept of America first, proudly proclaiming herself to be a Christian nationalist. She was the first Hill Republican to accuse Israel of genocide. Quote, "You can't unsee dead children. That's not fake. It's not war propaganda," unquote. She was also an ardent critic of federal funding for Ukraine and voted against aid packages despite Trump's new support for the sovereign country invaded by Russia. Greene not only says taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used to fund foreign wars, but she has clashed with Speaker Mike Johnson, attempting to oust him for depending on Democratic votes to pass Ukrainian aid. Greene, who has also opposed the White House on artificial intelligence, is clearly enjoying her newfound independence. She posted this, quote, "If you tell the base of people who support you of deep state treasonous crimes and rich, powerful, elite, evil cabals, then you must take down every enemy of the people," unquote. So make no mistake, there's more to this article. Again, it's a Fox News article for anybody that wants to read the rest of it, but she's still very much a conservative, very, very right wing. She has some ideas that don't feel consistent with what I would imagine a kind and decent and morally just human being to have and to espouse, right? But when there's something, I think it's important to say there's something here. Okay. And the something is not everything, but the something is that she's not just following this guy in DC, in the White House. She's able to say, nope, that's wrong, or I disagree with that, or whatever. And that is how the best ideas and the best plans, in theory, make their way to the top. You have people that disagree with you and you defend your position. And if you're able to defend it and you have your team defend it and your plight is just, then your idea conceivably will ultimately emerge victorious. And other people's ideas along the way should challenge your ideas. And if they're able to take down your idea, then it probably wasn't a good enough idea. Maybe theirs was better, or maybe you merge the two or take parts of this and parts of that. But this is kind of the point of a democracy, is that one person, it doesn't decide everything for everyone. And indeed, the best ideas theoretically make their way to policy and are ultimately implemented. And that cannot be true in what is effectively a monarchy. The right controls every lever of government, and the right is controlled by one man. And seldom do people break from what he says. Even if he says things that are factually incorrect, and everyone knows it, they will do their best to go and re-engineer the story to where it makes sense, or to where it is moral, or it is just, or something. We read in the article prior to this where they were saying, oh, these children were detained and zip tied just to ensure that they weren't being trafficked, right? So they're really good at respinning the narrative, and it's like there nobody is waking up and saying, hey, maybe this isn't really who we are or who we should be. Maybe this isn't what we voted for. They're having a tough time coming to terms with that. And so when I say this is not nothing in terms of Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's something. To be able to function as an independent human being endowed with consciousness and a moral compass. And I will say it, a degree of intelligence, discernment, and the capacity to say, I don't agree with that. That's wrong. I don't like that. You owe me this, or whatever, instead of just, yes, sir, and showing him your other cheek. And I think a lot of those Republicans that are the far right ultra, like this person, I think that if they took a page out of her book, the Republican Party wouldn't be as unrecognizable as it is right now. So that's my initial reactions, Q.
I just wish she wasn't singular in her dissent.
Mm-hmm.
Far more people in the country are okay with the way things are than is comfortable. And we can tell because the streets are not flooded with people who are angry about what's happening. Even the things that are being reported on the news, even the things that are in the paper, even the things that are in the headlines, they're not getting eruptions of upset and angry citizens. A lot of people are still in this, well, maybe one day it'll show up at my front door, but until then, I'm just going to bunker down, keep going to work, keep going to school. And again, the hyper normalization of what is MAGA. The media failed all of us pretty dramatically, pretty drastically the last time he was in office, and then the time in between. He was allowed to be normalized, and he should have been treated as bizarre and extreme and criminal, and he wasn't. And he was allowed to just kind of stay in the orbit of politics and stay the front runner of that party. No one stepped up and pushed him out of the way. No one neglected accepting him as a lead candidate. So seeing someone break ranks is very shocking because it seems no one ever does. I'm curious to see what the party does now that one of their most vocal, one of their most known is disagreeing with their leader, even if only on one topic. So I'm very curious to see what happens in the wake of her being a voice that disagrees with his.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that someone like her, she's probably one of the more visible, I'll call her a MAGA Republican because that's what she's known for. Certainly no shortage of photos of her wearing a Trump hat or a MAGA hat or whatever. It takes someone that high up to kind of start snapping people out of that trance that they're in, saying like, you know what, I didn't really think that thing I saw on the news was okay, but everybody else seemed okay with it. So I didn't want to be the one Trumper that was like, hey, y'all, is Trump tripping? So if they see her saying, hey, look, I don't agree with this dude on everything, like, again, she's saying that she still loves the guy, whatever. And these guys, I don't expect them to like abandon him. He's their guy. But at a point, you get a little bit of your individuality back, and somebody's got to go first. And to know that it's been her, that's
the strange thing about it, though, is that we've always categorized her as extreme, and whatever that word was that Fox uses at the beginning.
Kooky, yeah.
They deliberately bring that word back now, though, so that she can be taken less serious now that she's disagreeing, right? The things we always said, they'll now say those things about her so that no one will coalesce with her. So again, very interested to see how everyone reacts to this new tune that she's singing.
Yeah. Well, obviously we're going to continue to watch, what's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but for now, this looks like leadership to me, and that's not nothing.